Gone are the days of formal etiquette. So, what should you do in the maddening social situations you face every day? This is No Etiquette, the podcast where we address modern etiquette questions in a nonsense fashion. I'm Vivian Lee, coming to you from Singapore, and joining me is my best friend Sophia Bose in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Vivian. How are you?
I am doing okay, but also maybe not so okay. It is the start to a new year. In fact, it is not even that New Yearish anymore. The excuse of the new year is beginning to wear off. Where I am, it is February, when you really feel like you should be up and doing things, and I am not up and doing things. I heard on another podcast, The Next Right Thing, which I like very much, where she was describing January as the new week between Christmas and New Year's. And I liked that very much. The whole of January. Think of it as your time between times. But it is now no longer January.
For me it is, but I understand for you it is not.
You are on the cusp of January.
Is it good? Yes. Because we can speak from two different perspectives. One in which I'm still in a transition period, and two, you've crossed over to the other side. And this is ideal for a podcast situation.
Well, I've crossed over to the other side, except that I'm in exactly the same condition as I was. And this is what people who don't do New Year's resolutions say, that they're like, it's an arbitrary marker. You know, there's nothing special about this being an additional day like any other. But I feel quite the same that I did on, say, the last day of December before the new year, which is usually when I am fervent and, you know, looking back and looking forward and ready to launch into new things. And I am just not feeling it this year. And you reminded me of a great concept we have. Maybe concept is not the right word. What would you like to call her?
Well, so we call her Cheetos Girl, and she would resist your saying that she's not a concept, or that but she is all the things, basically. Many things. We can call her a concept if we wish. I believe that was the philosophy behind Cheetos Girl.
She was kind of a whole character we made up, and we will say a character largely based on you, or you in a certain mode. I like concept sounds a little grand. I feel like she would just like roll her eyes at it, but she is kind of.
She would totally.
Yeah, yeah. Can you remember how we first came up? When I say we, actually, it was you. Like you.
I don't remember that it was me. I think it was you.
Oh no, it was you. It was you. Sorry, that was very vehement, but it was because you would be talking about eating Cheetos, and okay, I remember when she very much became a thing when I was very stressed at my last job, and it was not the job's fault. It was entirely me. The job could be done at a not so breakneck pace, and it would still be done fine, and I just had a hard time doing that. And you started saying like, can you take smoke breaks? And neither smokes. It was just a concept. But you were like, imagine that you are not you. I think that was it. I was like, how do I make it through this? And you were like, imagine that you are not you. Imagine that you are Cheetos Girl. And you started sort of spinning this whole concept, idea, character based on you, I think, largely.
Oh, I remember this now. It really did. I did need for you to do that. To do that little update. Not update. I'm losing my words. Okay. I remember this. You were sitting too much. This is a problem. You didn't want to be sitting so much. And I was thinking about people that don't sit, not because they don't like to sit, but because they're compelled to not sit. And then I thought about smokers. And so then I think that was how it started.
It was that, but it was also like, maybe you texted this to me, but you were like, can you imagine yourself as another person? Can you imagine yourself as the kind of person who would like sit at their desk eating Cheetos and then like licking the Cheetos powder off their fingers? And like it had this whole, which I don't think is even the most specific telling detail about Cheetos Girl, but it was the sort of like person who would not work too hard at their job kind of idea. Who would maybe need her smoke breaks, who would really need her smokes, who would need to get up and not be sitting and working all day long. Need to.
Yes. You're right. I'm remembering a little bit. Okay, so the spirit of Cheetos Girl, right? I'm
Mhm,
remembering this. The
mhm.
spirit of her is that she was animal forward. So like we're when we're a
What?
human, right? So
Oh,
it's like the part that's not civilized, right? It's like she's animal forward. Like in her head, she thinks, what does the animal want? And then she does what she needs to do to have the animal be satisfied. I
mm.
think that was Cheetos Girl
That is some
in
version
many
of
ways.
describing it. Yeah, it's more of like, is she hungry? She gets up and has a snack. Is she tired of
Yes.
sitting? She gets up and walks away. Like, is she tired of
Yes.
working? She leaves work and does something and comes back to it later, maybe.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And I think maybe her genius is that somehow she was able to get away with it.
Yes. And it was not merely through not caring. It was just like she would manage. She would manage. And in doing
Yeah.
so, she would expose the absurdity of the amount of things that somebody like me does that feel very crucial but are actually not necessary at all. Like that was sort of the genius of Cheetah's Girl. Um,
Yeah.
Animal Forward is a fun. I think it was just very like personal needs forward, and she would just go get her.
Yes.
She would go do her personal needs.
And her
But it was
personal
not
needs
only
were
that; she
very
had
tied
like
to her body.
very tied to her body, but also like just like it kind of morphed into a whole like languorous attitude towards not never getting too upset with work while people around her, stressed out about it. She would be very
Yes.
calm and laid back. She would do
Yes.
what really needed to be done in a kind of like Cheetos girl way. That was okay, that was also part of it, where she would kind of do things in
Yeah.
like in a silly, like but like it would kind of get done sufficiently. This
Yes.
was
She
an
would
attitude
find the
you were
right
trying very hard to
shortcuts.
teach me. Yep, the right
Yes.
shortcut.
To
The right
find the
ways
right
to be
shortcut.
lazy
Yeah.
and like not
Yeah.
put a whole lot
Yeah.
into things, and it would be fine.
Yes. And it would be fine. She wasn't mean exactly either.
No, no, she was not mean.
No.
Um, I'm finding the single word that we are trying so hard to come up with is she is a slacker. She
Oh,
is an
she is a
excellent.
slacker.
She's a great,
Yeah.
great, great slacker, and
You
not
know,
in a
it's
kind of like evil, negligent kind of way. Just a slacker, a very harmless, lovable slacker.
so can I say the immediate thought that happened when you said the word slacker?
Oh
So
yeah.
if Cheetos Girl at all was
Mm.
derived from the spirit of me, the moment you said slacker, I felt this great sense of defensiveness where I was like, it's not slacking to be animal forward or to take care of my needs. I am, and so then, like, the I think what I'm trying to get at is the way she does
Mhm,
those things is not
mhm.
the way a slacker does it exactly. Like
Oh,
she would with slackers in general that I've met, there's
yeah,
less of an active engagement
yeah,
with the disengagement. Whereas
yeah.
what she does is this yeah.
Mm. Yeah, okay, I think this is right. Slacker would be the most pejorative term. I think of slacker as just sort of like a general, like, not the most, like, type A personality,
Mhm,
for
mhm,
sure.
mhm.
There isn't. I
Yeah,
think this is why we had to invent Cheetos Girl, because there's not a very good term for what we're getting at. I think you're right. It's an active engagement with, like, she will
disengagement.
she'll she'll disengage where she can in ways that don't
Uh-huh.
super harm the overall output. She will put her own needs
Yes,
first. Um
yes.
she noted I think what a good distinction maybe is if there's a thing that doesn't really need to get done, she won't do it, and in a way that doesn't harm the outcome, but a way that a
Yes.
person like me would very much go do the thing anyway, rather than not, I think.
Yeah. I
Spend a
remember
lot
this
of,
about
like, anxiety
yes.
over the doing of the thing that Cheetos Girl simply would not.
Yes. This I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. So I definitely don't think of you as a slacker in the way people use the term to, like, insult someone for not doing their work. It's just that
Yeah.
you have like a carefully chosen laid back attitude to certain things.
Yes, indeed.
And Cheetos Girl, as you reminded me of, is we realized, like, I think you used such a good word. You said we've shunned her, which is true. We have not discussed her for a while. We've not brought her up. We have not, I suppose we have not needed her in a way as we were busy in our harassed end of year, start of year ways, doing things, having things be done to us, having much to
Yeah,
contend with. And I
yeah.
completely forgot that we used to activate Cheetos Girl when we needed to not act the way we were acting. I say we,
You're
maybe mostly
right.
me. Just like
No,
as a
no, no,
way
no.
to no longer be frenetic in a certain way.
Yeah. No, I think actually what I realized right now, also sorry about the train, if you can hear it.
Oh, I actually can't
Um,
hear it.
so, wow, okay. I think I have lost my train of thought, pun
Derailed train.
intended.
Derailed your train of thought. Um,
What was the last thing you were saying?
Cheetos Girl was sort of an antidote to frenetic activity.
Oh, okay, I remembered. Um, I think what happened is both of us, we did shun Cheetos Girl, um, and that was a problem. Like, I think it was unhealthy. Typically, in the past, what happened is one of us would have her around and the other wouldn't, or there would be
Mm,
some kind of balance. And then
mhm.
in November and December of this year, and even January, I think the both of us forgot.
Both of us. Yeah, we were both off. Yeah, because usually one
Yes,
person can remind the other person, like, "What would
correct.
Cheetos Girl do?"
Yes,
Or like
we were both gone.
yeah, and we were both off our rocker these
Mhm.
last couple months. It was
I
the
think
absence
so.
of
I think
Cheetos
that's
Girl.
what happened. Was the
Mhm,
absence of her.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because
then
I
you
got a new
remembered her.
boss.
Yeah, you had changes at work. You could not remain Cheetos Girl. Um, I, the person who usually needs more reminding of Cheetos Girl, had no Cheetos Girl to be reminded of. You
Mhm.
remembered her today, on what is the first day of February for me. This is a very long Cheetos Girl absence. Maybe it is correct because I don't think Cheetos Girl herself has done anything for the past couple
No, she
in
hasn't. She's
in the sense of, like, she has not made and done New Year's resolutions, she has not
no,
and not because she has no, like, aims and loves and goals in life, she just does not do such things.
because she's already doing the things that are her
Yeah.
aims and goals and such.
Yeah, she's going at the right speed.
She's already doing it.
Yeah. She doesn't have to make a show of it for other people.
Yeah. She sounds almost too perfect, though.
Mm, maybe in the sense of, like, I think a regular person will have self-doubt from time to time or deviations or times when we were talking about this, like, you were different people at different times in your life. Like, no one can
Mhm.
probably be fully Cheetos Girl at all points of time.
Yeah,
There are times, but,
yeah,
um, she's a great character to think of when one is bustling about and
yeah,
ruffled.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any etiquette connection? Because we were enjoying the idea of just talking about Cheetos Girl, and it was very Cheetos Girl that there may not be any etiquette connection, which would be fine also.
I think I think one of the things that I found the most fascinating about when you and I would talk about Cheetah's Girl is,
Mm.
like, how she would deal with situations with like, uh, while maintaining some sort semblance of high etiquette or trying to. Like, there was a way in which she would try to do the most high etiquette thing to do the
Mm.
most typically low etiquette thing. Like, she should somehow want to get away with it. The getting away with it
Mm.
felt like operative.
Mhm.
Like, if it's
Yeah.
not high etiquette to eat a banana normally with your hands, she would make that somehow high etiquette.
Mm. Yeah. She would know the right thing to do in a situation. In the sense of, uh, she would be the kind of character who could do a very inappropriate thing, but have that be the appropriate thing for the situation
Exactly. Yes,
very
yeah,
effectively.
this is it. Yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
what is that quality? Like, how does she do that? That's the question.
That is the question. We have only a few minutes left in this very quick episode, but I want to ask you, what are some ways that Cheetos Girl would deal with the barrage of expectations of a new year and people asking you about it and people wanting to know what your plans are for the year and so on?
Well, she would lean into it. She'd be like, "Okay, what are my plans for the new year?" And, I don't think she'd take it too seriously. I think she'd have a notebook, the kind that you only ever use for one thing because it's, like, too fancy looking or something, and she'd be like, "Oh, great, I can use this, and it'll be a use for this." And then she'll make a list of things that she wants to do for the year, and then she would close it when she was done and never look at it again. But from time to time, if somebody asked her, she would be able to repeat something she'd written in that notebook, which she has no intention of trying to do or maintain.
Mm. And she would have great, like, peace of mind about it, I think.
Yeah, she'd already written it down. It's in the nice
Absolutely.
notebook.
Yeah. Yeah. Would she have, like, grand plans or nonsense plans? And I mean nonsense plans in a very affectionate way. I think nonsense plans this whole podcast was a nonsense plan, which I think has been very good for both of us. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I think it would be a both. I think it would be everything. I think it would just be everything. It would be
Mm.
great. In fact, she'd have a lot of fun. It might be quite long a list too. And then she would get so excited talking about the list to people that the people would kind of forget whether or not she was doing any of the things or not, or
Mm.
like
Mm.
what are they actually listening to? Unclear. Are these goals? Are these dreams? Like, where are like?
Yeah, and she would feel very at ease about the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good. That's good. I was reading, so this just so happens to be the same person, Emily P. Freeman, who has the Next Right Thing podcast. I'm reading her second book,
Mhm,
and let me try and think what this example was in the context of.
mhm.
But she was talking about being her first job was as a interpreter for the deaf, and she was very new at the time and very determined to do it by the book. And so she was at some kind of college luncheon fellowship occasion
Yeah,
and had to be somewhere where the student could see her and where she could interpret and sign and speak for the student. But
yeah.
the idea was that if you were working, you were not participating in the event. And so she
Mm.
said they set her a plate, and she was immediately very uncomfortable because she felt like her job was not to eat the lunch and participate, as if she were a guest. She was
Wow.
just there to be the interpreter. And so
Got it.
at the time, being very young, she kind of like kept refusing all the food. They kept trying to serve her food, and she kept refusing it
Um,
because she felt very by the
yeah,
book. And she said
yeah.
she sort of underestimated how uncomfortable it made everyone else and how much it drew attention to what she
Um,
was doing. And she says that the thing she should have done is just accepted the food and maybe not even eaten it if she didn't even want to, right? Like just kind of gone
yeah.
along in the most not even like
Oh, that's
frictionless way, not
good.
in a passive way, but just sort of like
Yeah.
um I'll it will it will create more of a fuss, for lack of a better word, if I try too hard to reject the situation even though I don't want it. And so like I should do this in a way that causes the least disturbance, which is not always what one wants to do, but in this case, right? Like if a disturbance would get in the way of her goal. And I
Yeah.
feel
Oh,
like
I
that's
really
very
like
Cheetos
this.
girl to just be like, "You know what? I won't put up a big thing about fighting New Year's resolutions, whether I have an intention to do them or not." And it's not
Uh-huh.
like she's just going with the crowd. She'll just do the
Mhm.
exact required amount of New Year's resolution and getting into things at the start of the new year and let it sort of peacefully go by in whatever fashion. Something
You know,
like
I just
that.
had a realization while you
Oh,
were
yeah?
talking. Yeah. Um, I like, I love the example that you gave, like, this completely, this is great. But, the realization I had is about why people ask about the New Year's resolutions.
Oh.
I think, like, people want to be inspired,
Oh.
and I think sometimes when they're asking that, they want to know what they should do,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
so I think it's okay that Cheetos Girl would kinda write down a bunch of stuff because they're fun and then just tell people because they wanna
Mm.
hear something. I think
You're
that's
right.
okay.
I really like this angle. It's not about just envy and comparison, it is wanting
No.
to have something to inspire you, and
Yeah,
why not ask people around you? I
yeah,
love that. And you know what? I think Cheetos Girl cracks that. She doesn't even know it. Maybe she does a little.
yeah.
But she
Yeah.
happily does that. I think she amazingly inspires people. People around her will do incredible things, and she will do her whatever a
Uh-huh.
great way.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's great. Cheetos Girl has so many uses. She's so wise in her own Cheetos Girl way. Um, I think she does the exact amount of fighting and not fighting and resisting and not resisting in ways that make a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Because it's not the right thing to always fight or resist or say no to the
Correct.
thing. As I've learned
Yeah.
from realizing it is excessive to not do how are yous at the start of this podcast, for example. But yeah, I think you're right. May we all find some inspiration or not. If you, like me, want to lie down for a while, you just spent your evening, my morning, convincing me that it is okay to do nothing in order to do something later on. And we arrived at the lovely Cheetos girlness, and I think that's right. I think that is what we want most of the time, New Year's or not. Some form of inspiration, and that can come in many forms. And that's a nice way to decode much of what happens at the start of the year in a great flurry.
Mm.
Well
Vivian,
done,
you did
Cheetos
such a
girl.
lovely job of completely I think, at the beginning of this episode, I had forgotten who she was, given how much we had shunned her, you know? And
Mhm.
so you've done such a lovely, um, job of reminding me of what she is.
Well, thank you. I think you've always maybe I reminded you, but I think you've always gotten very you're very good at the heart of what Cheetos Girl truly is. Like I'm very much seeing her from the outside. That's why I called her a slacker, even though I don't disparage her.
Yeah.
She's not. I think she's like, you are more her than I am her, for sure, by a long shot. Even though she remains like a perfect ideal in some ways that we aspire to.
She is a perfect
Um,
ideal.
Very good ideal. And Happy New Year of all kinds to every listener. We, of course, did no such we had ideas of holiday episodes and we did not do them. But if you, like us, are finding yourself in very much that kind of space, this one is for you. Embrace your inner or outer Cheetos girl. Maybe we'll bring her up again next time. It's good to be reminded of her. Sometimes you need to be somebody else for a while. You need the help of someone else, and that can be Cheetos girl. We would delight in having more listener questions about Cheetos Girl or anyone else. You may send them to us at noetiquettepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time here on No Etiquette. And until then, it is good etiquette to imagine what another person would do and discuss it with someone else. You may find some unexpected inspiration in this. We will see you next time.
Good night.